Buongiorno a tutti. Questo atto accademico ha un duplice significato. Il primo è il voler riprendere la normale e ordinaria vita dell'università. È il primo atto che noi facciamo in presenza.
Back to a normal life in the university, and we hope that this might be one of the first ways that we do this. It's a gift. The second objective is to complete a hope to do something to create a center of formation and studies on ecology after the inspiration of the Pope. It is his university. But this type of activity undertaken together with the Pope, which before the Catholic Church began a reflection on the topic of ecology and the care of creation. As the encyclical says, I hope everyone has been able to read it, Laudato Si, which refers to this initial spirit of preservation of the environment which the Church in Constantinople did through its patriarch. And it also is an openness to UNESCO with this ceremony. A UNESCO chair will also be open, and he thanks them for a rapid openness to this and that it was able to come about on the future of education for sustainability. And he hopes that this event is linked to other two events this week in which leaders, national and international, took part, and he refers to the meeting toward COP26 in November and the Global Compact on Education. And within this context, the care of our common home and the atmosphere, the environment, needs a conscience and education, and so these need to join together. There will be a presentation of the Chancellor, the Cardinal of Rome, and then the Director General of UNESCO will have a word, and we thank her for being present here.
Les bâtiments où elle siège l'université, c'est inscrit dans la liste du patrimoine commun, du patrimoine mondial culturel, en tant que le siège est partie de la Convention sur le patrimoine culturel. Merci encore. Poi prenderà la parola il patriarca.
Then the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew I, will have a word, and that will be followed. It will be concluded by a symbolic gesture, the signing of the decree for the institution of the chair.
Nel dare inizio a questo atto accademico desidero anzitutto ringraziare gli studenti.
In opening this chair, he wants to thank all those who are present, together who with their collaboration and their service have allowed the creation of this cycle of studies. The Lateran University wants to reflect on the possible actions that can be undertaken to face the difficulties also at the level of thought that are contributing to the environmental problems. It's not a matter of calling attention on the difficulties that the human family in every region and country is facing every day before a persistent degradation of the common home or of controlling goods and resources, but that of opening a reflection on how all of this constitutes a denial of the plan of creation, and that for as believers we believe is a gift of God, and to give a stimulus to all of those things that are asking at the university level to provide knowledge and awareness, to give answers, allowing a greater circulation of results of data, not just in terms of technical or technology, but that we might be able to begin to read the environmental problem according to a determined vision between cause and effect. The university is called to put its efforts toward true wisdom, that is, to draw from the biblical texts, from the Creator of all things, in order to understand the structure of the world and the strength of the elements, the beginning, the end, and how time goes, and how the seasons, the cycle of years, the position of the stars, the nature of animals and of flowers, the power of the spirits, and how humans reason. So beginning from this, these roots of wisdom, the university can trace a new path in order to direct us toward an essential mission for the professors and the students who are called through these relationships to find humility between created goods and the behavior of the human person in order to promote sustainability and therefore guarantee our life here on earth, not only for the present moment, but also with a vision of relationships. If on the one hand we have always more sophisticated technology, we also need to find responses in terms of identity and experience without referring to the human existence or the person who is in relation to our living in community. Identity means that the person not only feels that they have in hand the guardianship of creation, but also that we find the design in creation. Because living every day, our wanting to take care of, ecology will find meaning only by teaching and research, and even more by our way of inserting these academic disciplines within everyday living. Can we give meaning, identity, and experience? And this will constitute the basis of the interventions that follow, so that we might understand how education, teaching, and the formation of thought in a university are instruments, unique instruments, for providing care to the common home and the care of creation through concrete facts and not only through ideas.
A perseguire gli obiettivi che della formazione sono propri, favorendo non soltanto un innalzamento del livello degli studi
And so this isn't just to heighten academic studies, but also to provide a means of listening which will be able to provide a passage from into an effective way of responding. It requires availability and openness, so listening demands that we encounter and not reject what is new. It's essential to discover new things and make them operative. Thank you. This was Cardinal Angelo De Donatis, the Chancellor of the Pontifical Lateran University, the Pope's University. And now the word goes to the President of UNESCO, Dr. Audrey Azoulay. She'll be speaking in French.
Le patriarche œcuménique Bartholomé, Son Éminence le Grand Chancelier de l'Université Pontificale du Latran, Monsieur le Recteur, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis, je vous remercie de cet accueil pour l'UNESCO en cette aula magna, en ce lieu de réflexion sur le monde, de projection dans l'avenir. Et je suis heureuse de participer à cette double inauguration, celle d'un nouveau département universitaire et celle d'une nouvelle chaire universitaire de l'UNESCO en cette université. Cette salle magnifique et sa quiétude ne peuvent pas nous faire oublier que notre planète est proche d'un point de bascule et peut-être d'un point de rupture. La mondialisation actuelle n'est en effet pas seulement celle des échanges, des flux, des hommes et des femmes, c'est aussi, et Sa Sainteté le pape François l'a rappelé, celle de l'indifférence. Indifférence à l'égard de l'aggravation des vulnérabilités qui divisent nos sociétés. Indifférence à l'égard de notre planète, dont nous avons déjà tant dégradé la nature. Le pacte éducatif, lui-même, déjà frêle, déjà fragile, l'a été plus encore par la pandémie, puisqu'elle a privé d'école jusqu'à 1,6 milliard d'élèves. Et pendant qu'une partie des élèves pouvaient continuer d'accéder à l'éducation à distance, plus de 500 millions, en majorité au sud de notre planète, en étaient privés. C'est pourquoi l'organisation que j'ai l'honneur de diriger, l'UNESCO, a modifié son action pour soutenir l'éducation à distance, là où elle ne pouvait se faire en classe. Mais cette pandémie nous a montré de façon brutale à quel point nous avons besoin, pour faire monde commun, de refonder un nouveau contrat social par l'éducation. C'est aussi le sens du travail que nous menons depuis 18 mois à l'UNESCO pour imaginer les futurs de l'éducation, cette éducation du XXIe siècle. Réfléchir au futur de l'éducation pour construire un monde durable, c'est précisément le thème de l'étude de la chaire UNESCO que nous inaugurons ici à l'Université du Latran et qui pourra ainsi contribuer à cette discussion mondiale. Nous nous appuyons pour la mener sur la vocation universelle de l'UNESCO, une vision de l'éducation ancrée dans des principes éthiques, humanistes, fondés sur le respect de la dignité de chacun, une vision de l'éducation dans laquelle, avant les dimensions utilitaires ou économiques, nous mettons en avant d'abord le droit fondamental à l'éducation en tant que condition de la dignité et de l'émancipation de chacun. Et c'est aussi dans cet esprit que l'UNESCO a rejoint le Pacte mondial pour l'éducation, lancé au Vatican il y a un an, dans le cadre et dans l'esprit de l'objectif des Nations Unies. La tâche devant nous est immense. Nous devons non seulement, par l'éducation, favoriser la paix entre les hommes et les femmes, mais aussi entre l'humain et la planète. Et en cela, nous sommes, d'une certaine façon, tous sous les auspices de saint François d'Assise, qui prêchait aux oiseaux et qui, dans le cantique de Frère Soleil, portait l'idée d'une fraternité universelle avec les humains comme avec la nature. Pour construire la paix entre les hommes, malgré les avertissements de l'histoire, nous avons besoin de l'éducation. Nous savons le rôle qu'elle peut jouer pour donner corps à ce principe profond, Ubuntu, ce mot des langues bantoues du sud de l'Afrique qui signifie « mon humanité est inextricablement liée à la tienne ». Faire la paix par l'éducation, c'est ce que nous faisons notamment à l'UNESCO, en Irak, dans la plaine de Ninive, à Mossoul. Dans le sillage des drapeaux noirs de Daesh pour apaiser les cicatrices du conflit, nous nous appuyons sur les forces du patrimoine culturel, de l'éducation, pour faire revivre l'esprit de Mossoul. Et le pape François s'est rendu lui-même dans cette ville, autrefois mosaïque culturelle, cultuelle, riche de librairies, d'universités, pour porter ce message de solidarité et d'espoir. Il y a rappelé, je voudrais citer ces mots, qu'un tissu culturel et religieux aussi riche de diversité est affaibli par la perte de n'importe lequel de ses membres, aussi petit soit-il. Ce sont des paroles précieuses pour la paix, dans le respect de l'autre, dans sa différence, et à titre personnel, il me touche beaucoup. Mais la paix aujourd'hui, c'est aussi celle que nous devons faire avec la planète. Votre Sainteté, le patriarche œcuménique Bartholomée, l'a dit très tôt, vous qui déclariez en 1991, pour vous citer, que le crime contre le monde naturel est un péché. C'est encore là aussi par l'éducation que nous pourrons faire la différence. Cela veut dire, bien sûr, comprendre les mécanismes qui sont à l'œuvre dans les dérèglements climatiques et l'effondrement de la biodiversité. Mais cela veut dire aussi s'adresser au cœur et faire montrer et ressentir la beauté du vivant et en montrer la fragilité. Car c'est bien une part de la poésie et de la beauté du monde qui disparaît avec la diversité du vivant. C'est pourquoi l'UNESCO s'est aussi engagée pour que ses États membres intègrent plus fortement dans leur programme scolaire l'éducation à la nature, à l'environnement. Mais pour atteindre ce double objectif, de la paix entre les hommes, de la paix avec la planète, nous avons besoin de soutenir la recherche, les sciences, de soutenir les enseignants, de faire évoluer nos connaissances et nos méthodes. C'est la raison pour laquelle l'UNESCO est heureuse que cette chaire, ici à l'Université Pontificale du Latran, rejoigne cette grande entreprise mondiale du savoir que nous avons mis en place et qui compte près de 900 chaires universitaires dans 117 pays. Je veux remercier le grand chancelier de l'Académie pontificale du Latran ainsi que monsieur le recteur qui nous ont fait confiance et qui rejoignent ce réseau mondial. Nous comptons beaucoup sur les travaux de cette chaire qui nourriront la discussion mondiale sur les futurs de l'éducation et qui orienteront les politiques régissant ce bien public mondial qu'est l'éducation. Nous pouvons nous appuyer sur les pouvoirs de l'éducation pour changer le monde. Le philosophe français Gaston Berger, ami de l'UNESCO, avait coutume de dire « L'avenir, ce n'est pas ce qui va inéluctablement arriver, mais c'est ce que nous allons faire ensemble. » Nous avons beaucoup à faire ensemble et ce département et cette chaire y prendront toute leur part et je veux vous dire ma grande fierté d'être ici avec vous pour le lancer. Merci beaucoup.
We've just heard the president of UNESCO, Dr. Azoulay, speaking here at the inauguration of a cycle of studies at the Pontifical Lateran University. I apologize for not being able to translate. We don't have the texts present with us, so we'll do our best.
Surtout pour le message que vous avez donné ce matin, c'est-à-dire la nécessité d'une éducation qui soit nécessairement un réseau entre les diversités et les différents. Noi speriamo di poter portare avanti.
We hope to be able to progress with this objective and do it in the best way possible. He was responding to Dr. Azoulay, and now the word will go to His Holiness, the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople. Allow me only a small word of thanks to His Holiness, because before the request of collaborating in the creation of a new department or cycle of studies on the theme of the protection of our common home and ecology of the environment, he immediately demonstrated a willingness to collaborate. And they too have been able to define a program which we will move ahead with, and they too will be a point of reference. Thank you, Your Holiness, for this collaboration.
Grazie a lei.
Thank you, dear Rector, and good day to all of you, and I will speak in English.
Your Holiness, distinguished organizers and guests, it is almost a year ago that the President of the Pontifical Lateran University, our dear friend, Dr. Vincenzo Buonomo, contacted us with the inspired and inspiring idea of founding a theological chair dedicated to the protection of God's creation at this eminent institution, under the joint auspices of our beloved, very beloved brother in Christ, Pope Francis, and our Modesty. In collaboration with our personal representative on this sacred project, Archdeacon John Chrysavgis, a specific program of studies was created, and the chair is today being launched with the support of UNESCO as a way of embracing the vision and advancing the mission of our two sister churches and their current leaders, while establishing another tangible platform of collaboration between the ancient sees of Saints Peter and Andrew. Reflecting the interreligious and interdisciplinary approach to the sensitive, while at the same time urgent challenge of climate change, the academic framework of this chair includes theological and philosophical dimensions, as well as legal and socio-economic aspects, in order to train and shape students how to respond to the ecological crisis in a collaborative and conscientious manner. Of course, this chair did not appear abruptly and unexpectedly. It has emerged and developed as a result of much pioneering and paramount work on the part of our two churches, which have long demonstrated their commitment to raising awareness on the vital importance of protecting God's wonderful universe, not only in response to political or economic concerns, but above all, in response to the divine mandate to care for the gift of creation, to serve and preserve the earth, as God commanded Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. The Ecumenical Patriarchate has proclaimed and promoted this message for over 3 decades now, since 1889, when our venerable predecessor, Patriarch Demetrius, issued the first annual encyclical to Orthodox Christians throughout the world, thereby also establishing September 1st as a day of prayer for the natural environment. This special commemoration and celebration was subsequently affirmed and embraced by other Christian churches, including the Roman Catholic Church, the Anglican Communion, and the Lutheran World Federation, and many ecumenical organizations, including the World Council of Churches and the Conference of European Churches. Most prominently, our brother Pope Francis issued his courageous encyclical Laudato Si in 2015, which was launched again for the first time in the history of papal encyclicals through the generosity of the Pope, jointly by Peter Cardinal Turkson and our Metropolitan John of Bergamo. And as you are all aware, only a month ago, together with Pope Francis and Archbishop Justin Welby of the Anglican Communion, we signed a joint statement emphasizing how all of us depend on one another to address any global crisis, such as COVID-19 and climate change. This was, as we declared, the first time that the three of us felt compelled to address together the urgency of environmental sustainability, its impact on persistent poverty, and the importance of global cooperation. But today, we are setting into motion a groundbreaking academic program which will foster conversation and collaboration while generating information and education. In 1989, when the first environmental encyclical of the Ecumenical Patriarchate was issued, people were only beginning to become aware of the challenge of climate change and pollution. Yet today, 3 decades later, unfortunately, politicians and corporations are still reluctant or resistant to pursue policies and practices to stop or curb the problem. This is precisely why we need universities and schools to sow the necessary seeds for motivating the appropriate response and necessary transformation. Education in all its levels is a powerful vehicle for addressing the lack of progress in our communities and even in our churches throughout the world. This is the knowledge and ethos that we should be promoting. And the new chair of theology at this esteemed Pontifical University will be at the forefront of the effort to produce thinkers, practitioners, and leaders who are sensitive and attuned to the presence of God in every detail and particle of His creation. We are grateful for the honor of dedicating this chair to Pope Francis and our modesty, and we wish you every blessing and success in your noble commission. Thank you.
We've just heard words from the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew. This is a chair that is being instituted jointly between both the Catholic and Orthodox communions. We now will be hearing words from Pope Francis, who has asked not to be presented. Your Holiness, dearest Brother Bartholomew, Distinguished Madam Andrea Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, Grand Chancellor, Rector, and the Lateran academic community, dear brothers and sisters. I'm delighted to be among you for this academic act dedicated to ecological and environmental issues. It's also intended to lay the foundations for an open and structured dialogue with everyone on how to know and listen to the voice of our common home, which asks to be cared for and preserved. It is an event that sees the participation of Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, with whom we share the duty to proclaim the love for creation and the commitment to its being cared for. While the encyclical Laudato Si was being elaborated, the light precisely came from him and from the Church of Constantinople. To care for creation, and I quote His Holiness, is a way of loving, of moving gradually from what I want to what God's world needs. It is liberation from fear, from greed, and from dependence. And this is what the Patriarch said in 2003. Today, the common reflection as disciples of Christ has succeeded in penetrating many contexts by bringing together often distant interests, such as in the context of international organizations, of special multilateral conferences dedicated to different sectors or environmental ecosystems. In this perspective, for example, can be placed the recent message that, together with Patriarch Bartholomew and Archbishop Justin Welby, Primate of the Anglican Church, we prepared in view of COP26 in Glasgow, which is now on the horizon. I believe we are all aware of this. The harm we are doing to the planet is no longer limited to damage to the climate, on water and soil, but now, unfortunately, threatens life itself on Earth. In the face of this, it is not enough to repeat statements of principle that make us feel good, that we're okay, because among other things, we are also interested in the environment. No, the complexity of the ecological crisis, in fact, demands responsibility, concreteness, and competence.
E anche con I leader delle confessioni religiose, questo scientista, presidente, ha detto.
A scientist said, my nephew or grandchild who was just born will be living in an inhabitable world if we do not change things. This is what a scientist told Pope Francis recently. These are choices that recall to universities its original mission as a privileged place of formation and preparation, where different knowledge meets, where students and teachers come together to reflect and creatively elaborate new paths to follow. From the university passes also the effort to form the ecological consciousness and develop research to protect the common home. Academic activity is called to foster an integral ecology, an integral ecological conversion, in order to preserve the splendor of nature, first of all, by reconstructing the necessary unity between the natural and social sciences with what is offered by theological, philosophical, and ethical reflection, so as to inspire juridical norms and a sound economic vision. Today's meeting also sees represented at the highest level the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, which is charged with preserving the world's cultural and natural heritage, and with promoting the sciences in their dynamism, above all through education, through formation. I thank UNESCO for this active attention paid to this initiative with the initiation of a chair on the future of education for sustainability. These are the spirit, the assumptions, and the intent entrusted to the new cycle of studies in ecology and environment that is born today in this university. As part of the journey towards full ecclesial communion It will work together with the Apostolic See of the Apostle Andrew, with an open perspective, a great spirit capable of welcoming the attention of the Christian churches of the various religious communities, of all those who are in search, and of those who profess themselves to be non-believers. In other words, it should be a meeting point for reflection on integral ecology, capable of gathering different experiences and thoughts and putting them together through their own proper method of scientific research. In this way, the Universitas not only shows itself to be an expression of the unity of knowledge, but also a repository of an imperative that has no religious, ideological, or cultural boundary, to safeguard our common home, to preserve it from evil actions, perhaps inspired by economics and education linked to the immediate result, to the advantage of only a few. And this is going to be, it's an objective to be realized in up until 2030. Together we will be able to look together in order to protect the air, water, climate, and a struggle against the battle against desertification. We can't forget that there is no ecology without an adequate anthropology. Without a true integral ecology, we will have a new inequality that will not only not resolve problems, but will also add others. The idea of a cycle of studies appropriately or specifically in this direction will therefore serve to transform, even among believers, their interests for the environment, so that it might become a mission of persons who've been formed because of an adequate educational experience. It is the responsibility that must be looked at together, so that environmental harm might also include those who are abandoned and forgotten. To the Lateran academic community and all its components, I address my encouragement to continue with humility and perseverance to intercept the signs of the times, an attitude that requires openness, creativity, broader educational selection, but also sacrifice, commitment, transparency, and uprightness in choices, especially in these difficult times. Let us definitively abandon that we've always done it this way. This will kill. That it's always been done this way, which does not make us credible because it generates superficiality and answers that are valid only in appearance. We are called instead to a qualified work which demands generosity and gratuitousness from everyone in order to respond to a cultural context whose challenges await concreteness, precision, and the capacity of being evaluated. May God fill us with His tenderness and pour upon our path the strength of His love, so that we may sow beauty and not pollution and destruction. Thank you. Our Holy Father, addressing those present here at the inauguration of a cycle of studies at the Pontifical Lateran University on the care of our common home and the care of creation, and the UNESCO Chair on the Futures of Education for Sustainability. After these interventions, we now move to the signing of the accord between UNESCO and the university. The university has a privilege in this act that it will be Pope Francis who will sign this text, giving this gift to his university. And so in the name of UNESCO, Dr. Azoulay, signing now this accord between UNESCO and the Pontifical Lateran University. Which was founded by Pope Clement XIV, who united the Roman Seminary and the School of Theology of the Roman College, entrusting its direction to the secular clergy of the Diocese of Rome. This took place in 1773, and it's placed under the immediate or direct dependence of the Pope. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, signing the accord here, since it is, as we heard, this Pontifical Lateran University directly depends on the Pope. Our Holy Father paid a surprise visit to the university in March of 2019. Pope Benedict, when he visited it in 2006, said, "I'm happy to be here. It's my university because this is the university of the Bishop of Rome." Holy Father will hand to the Grand Chancellor the letter granting the approval of this new cycle of studies. The letter dated October 7th, today, in the common memory of the saints megalomartyrs, or the great martyrs, Sergius and Bacchus. The closing paragraph, our Holy Father writes, "May the merciful God flood our steps with his light, so that our service and concern for the planet may always be inspired by the joy of feeling responsible custodians of God for the Creator's work." And this letter will now be read out loud to Venerable Brother Cardinal Angelo De Donatis, the Grand Chancellor of the Pontifical Lateran University. Called to educate in responsibility for the gifts of creation, the Church also fulfills her commitment in forming the true meaning of every action aimed at preserving, protecting, and guaranteeing life on and of the earth, well aware that this is an obligation to which everyone is called in the different roles and tasks that they exercise. Believers and non-believers alike have the duty to ensure not only an abstract sustainability or to proclaim the good of future generations, but to provide tools to safeguard the various ecosystems and their components, knowing that we cannot dispose of them without limits. It is also required by the serious repercussions that the lack of ecological awareness causes, not only on the environment, but also on human relations and social life, nurturing that culture of waste that creates, first of all, exclusion, poverty, inequality, forced displacement of populations, lack of being able to satisfy basic needs. Every day, the entire human family notes that care for creation is linked to the progress of science, to the relationship between different cultures, to the processes of building peace and cooperation, as well as imposing a reinterpretation of the fundamental principles of social life. In the face of the degradation that threatens the planet, expressions such as freedom, justice, mutual respect, solidarity, equity, common good are deprived of all meaning.
L'utilizzo razionale delle risorse, la conversione ecologica, l'indivisibilità del libro della natura, insieme ad alcuni indicatori operativi essenziali.
In the Catholic Church, concern for the protection of creation is rooted in the heritage of reflection, ideas, and tools for action contained in her social doctrine. This is how, principles such as the universal destination of goods, the rational use of resources, ecological conversion, the indivisibility of the Book of Nature, together with the same essential operational indicators such as integral ecology, listening to nature, preventing damage to the environment, stabilizing the climate, and preserving biodiversity, water, and land. We cannot forget that it is thanks to the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople that concern for the ecological question has matured among Christians for preserving the gifts of creation of the natural heritage, even with numerous initiatives to sensitize and exhort believers in other religious communities. A reflection that, in the face of the extinction of species, the destruction of biological diversity, climate change caused by the destruction of forests, the contamination of water, air, and life, has not hesitated to say these are sins. This common sentiment has helped to deepen the dialogue between our churches, directing it also to grasp the wisdom that is realized in educational activity and in the central role of universitas, the symbolic place of that integral humanism which needs to be continually renewed and enriched through the interweaving of knowledge, the arts, and the sciences. Indeed, it is necessary for university education to know how to respond to the many challenges posed at the present time to humanity as a whole and to the communities of believers by proposing a courageous and coherent cultural impulse and a scientifically valid project. For this reason, I have thought of including studies in ecology and the environment in the system of ecclesiastical studies under the other sciences, primarily the human sciences, which are more closely connected with the theological disciplines or with the work of evangelization. And in unity with my venerable brother Bartholomew of instituting in the University of the Bishop of Rome a cycle of studies in ecology and the environment, care of our common home, and protection of creation. This will be a course of advanced formation in which the sees of the apostles Peter and Andrew will be able to work in synergy to continue even in this area their mission of proclaiming the good news to all peoples. The cycle of studies which I entrust to the director of the rector will be structured with the educational resources present in the university appropriately integrated along with academic realities connected in various ways to the two churches. It will be structured in the disciplinary fields of theology, philosophy, law, and all the sciences of the economic, social, ecological, and environmental spheres in a way capable of generating that unity of knowledge and the distinction and respect of its multiple, correlated and converging expressions. It will also be open in the form of joint degrees, double degrees, and equivalent degrees. Other degrees will be defined together with the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople or other Christian churches and communities of believers who wish to join the new academic path. Furthermore, in order to promote an open system of research and training, the study cycle will also include a UNESCO chair on the future of education for sustainability as an instrument inspired and connected to the organization's aims of raising awareness and fostering on a global level the education of the younger generations in ecological responsibility, environmental guarantees, and the desired sustainability. I am certain, Cardinal, of the commitment of all those teachers, students, and non-teaching staff who will collaborate to ensure the solid preparation of priests, consecrated persons, and lay people, always working with humility, sobriety, and a spirit of sacrifice. Essential qualities for building also through study and research that social friendship which is the foundation of fraternity. Faced with current and future scenarios, studies in ecology and environment, care of our common home, and protection of creation are for the benefit of ecclesial structures, forms of consecrated life, associations, and movements, and all those who wish to acquire the ecological awareness, knowledge, and competence required for a commitment inspired by a model of human beings, life, society, and relationship with nature that is just and sustainable. May the merciful God flood our steps with His light so that our service and concern for the planet may always be inspired by the joy of feeling responsible custodians of God for the Creator's work. Rome, given in Rome, St. John Laterans on the 7th of October on 2021 in the common memorial, in the common memory of the great martyr Saint Sergius and Bacchus. This is the letter granting the authorization of this new cycle of studies and the UNESCO chair here at the Pontifical Lateran University. This academic act is now concluding. We humbly ask His Holiness to bless all of us here present in the hall. Everyone now rising to their feet. And the Ecumenical Patriarch accompanying the Holy Father in the blessing of all those here present in the Grand Hall, the Aula Magna of the Pontifical Lateran University, a university directly dependent on the Holy Father, as we've heard. And with these images, we now bring to an end this live broadcast of the academic ceremony that has taken place here in the Pontifical Lateran University, opening a cycle of studies on the care of our common home and the preservation of creation, safeguarding of creation, and the UNESCO Chair for the Future of Education for Sustainability. We invite you to join us again this evening. We'll be broadcasting live from the Colosseum, where a meeting promoted by the St. Egidio community called Religions and Cultures in Dialogue, Peoples as Brothers, Future Earth will take place. That begins around 4:30 Central European Time. And I'd like to thank all of our media partners who've made this broadcast possible: Catholic Faith Network, EWTN, Catholic TV at Madarshan TV, and Luminous Radio. I also thank all of our in-studio technicians and to all of you for joining us today. Laudetur Jesus Christus, praised be Jesus Christ.